the early hours of April 1st, 2006, a 27-year-old medical student walked into a popular college bar in Columbus, Ohio. Security cameras captured him entering. He spoke to a bouncer, waved to some friends, and walked down a short hallway into the crowd. He was never seen leaving. There was no body, no struggle, no trail. It's as if Brian Shaffer simply stepped out of our reality and into another. Over the past 2 decades, his disappearance has become one of the most heavily debated mysteries of the internet age. How does a grown man vanish from a crowded building with only one visible exit? To understand the mystery of how Brian disappeared, you first have to understand who he was. Brian Shaffer wasn't a reckless partier or someone running from trouble. He was a second-year medical student at Ohio State University. He was smart, charismatic, and deeply loved by his family. But Brian was also carrying a heavy burden. Just 3 weeks before his disappearance, his mother had passed away from a prolonged battle with cancer. The grief was overwhelming, but Brian seemed to be pushing through. He was leaning on his younger brother, Derek, and his longtime girlfriend, Alexis Wagoner. By all accounts, Brian was holding it together. But grief is an unpredictable thing. And on the night of March 31st, 2006, Brian decided to blow off some steam. It was the Friday before spring break. Brian's classes were done, and he and his friend, William Clint Florence, decided to go out for a night of drinking. They started the evening at Clint's apartment, having a few drinks before heading out to the ugly Tuna Saloona, a multi-level bar located in a complex called the South Campus Gateway. The Ugly Tuna was a known hotspot for OSU students. It was crowded, loud, and sprawling. Brian and Clint arrived at the Ugly Tuna at around 10:30 p.m. A little later, they were joined by Clint's friend, Meredith. The night was, by all accounts, a typical college bar crawl. They drank, they laughed, they socialized. But as the night wore on, a slight tension crept in. Brian and his girlfriend, Alexis, had a minor disagreement over the phone earlier in the evening. At one point during the night, Brian was seen on his phone, looking distressed. He tried calling Alexis multiple times, but she was asleep and didn't answer. Those calls would be the last trace of Brian's digital life. At approximately 1:30 a.m., the trio was standing near the stage area. Clint and Meredith decided to call it a night. They turned to invite Brian to leave with them, but he had vanished into the crowd. Assuming he had gone to the bathroom or found someone else to talk to, Clint and Meredith left the bar and headed home. But Brian didn't go home. At 1:55 a.m., the bar's security cameras captured Brian outside the entrance of the Ugly Tuna, chatting with 2 young women. He then spoke briefly with the bouncer before turning around and walking back into the bar. It was the last confirmed image of Brian Shaffer alive. April 1st was a Saturday. Brian was supposed to fly to Miami with his girlfriend, Alexis, for a spring break vacation. They were supposed to leave on a 10 a.m. flight. But when Alexis woke up, Brian hadn't come home. His phone went straight to voicemail. Panicked, she called Brian's father, Randy Shaffer. Randy drove to Brian's apartment. The doors were locked. Brian's car was still parked outside. His wallet, his keys, and his phone were nowhere to be found. The police were called, and what started as a concern over a missed flight quickly escalated into a massive search. The Ohio State University campus was scoured. Search dogs were brought in. Helicopters flew overhead. The focal point of the investigation immediately became the ugly tuna. Police seized the security footage from the night. And this is where the case goes from a standard missing persons investigation to an impossible puzzle. The ugly tuna had only two ways in and out for patrons: the main entrance, which was covered by security cameras, and a service exit that led to a construction area, a route that was locked from the inside and incredibly difficult to navigate without being noticed or getting dirty. Police watched the footage from 1:55 a.m. until the bar closed at 2:30 a.m. They watched every single person leave. They watched the footage backward and forward. Brian Shaffer never walked out. The theories started flying. Could he have left through the service door? Police brought in cadaver dogs to search the bar, the dumpsters, and the surrounding construction site. They found nothing. No trace of Brian, and no scent of decomposition. Could he have put on a coat or a hat and disguised himself on the way out? Investigators meticulously reviewed the footage. While one patron was seen pulling their shirt over their head as they left, facial recognition and body matching algorithms used by the FBI could not match the person to Brian. It appeared as though a 6'2", 160-pound man had simply evaporated inside a crowded building. With no physical evidence and a surveillance dead end, the public and investigators were left with three main theories. Theory 1: foul play. Brian was a tall, slender guy. It's possible he wandered into the wrong part of the bar, got into an altercation that went too far, and his body was smuggled out in a trash bag or a beer keg. But no blood was ever found, and nobody at the bar that night reported a fight. Theory 2: the secret exit. Some believe Brian, overwhelmed by the grief of his mother's death and the pressures of medical school, used this night to stage his own disappearance. That he found a way out of the bar unseen, walked into the night, and started a new life somewhere else. Adding fuel to this theory is a bizarre detail. Days after Brian vanished, his phone rang. When his family answered, they heard static and muffled voices before the call dropped. Phone records later traced the ping to a tower in a suburb north of Columbus. But the phone never turned on again, and the calls were never explained. Was it a pocket dial, or was Brian trying to reach out? Theory 3: tragic accident. It's possible Brian left the bar unseen, disoriented from alcohol, and fell into a nearby body of water or a construction pit. But extensive searches of the Olentangy River and the campus construction sites yielded absolutely nothing. While the internet debated these theories, Brian's family was living a nightmare. His father, Randy, became the face of the search. He plastered Columbus with flyers, appeared on national television, and spent every waking moment looking for his son. Tragically, the grief proved too much to bear. In September of 2008, 2.5 years after Brian disappeared, Randy Shaffer was killed when a tree fell on him during a storm. He died, never knowing what happened to his son. Brian's younger brother, Derek, was left to bury his father, having already lost his mother and his brother. Nearly 2 decades later, the disappearance of Brian Shaffer remains completely unsolved. The ugly Tuna Saloona has since closed its doors, taking whatever secrets its walls held with it. Brian's girlfriend, Alexis, has since moved on and married, but she still speaks of Brian with love and the lingering pain of not having answers. The mystery of Brian Shaffer challenges our sense of security. We rely on cameras, on locked doors, on logic. But Brian's case proves that sometimes reality bends in ways we can't explain. Sometimes a person can just vanish. Brian Shaffer would be in his 40s today. If you have any information regarding his disappearance, you are urged to contact the Columbus Police Department. What do you think happened that night in the Ugly Tuna? Did Brian find a way to start a new life, or did he fall victim to a tragic, unseen end? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you found this video informative, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button. It helps us tell more stories that deserve to be heard. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.